Hello and welcome to Wanna Be an Author, Now What? This is a series of live trainings that I'm going to be doing all through 2015 and maybe beyond, we'll see. But it really is kind of just to help people who want to be an author, not only write the book, but figure out what to do with the book once it's been written. So we're going to hone in, we're going to talk about different areas of publishing, writing, marketing, promotions, and all of that. So I am really, really happy that you have joined me. Hopefully you are in the Facebook group and you are sharing all that you are going to learn socially. If you want, please use the hashtag Be an Author. I would be really, really honored if you would share. And we're also going to be taking questions in the Facebook group. So that link was sent to everybody via the email. So if you haven't joined, go ahead and do that now, so that if you do have questions, you'll make sure that they get answered. One of the things that I love to do is to make sure that people get their questions answered about whatever it is I'm training on. So that's going to be really, really important. So just so you know a little bit about me, if you don't know, I am Nikki Woods, and I am a best-selling author. I am an author coach, and I also, through my company, help people develop platforms for getting exposure for their book. So exposure is kind of what we're going to focus on today. And like I said, if you're joining me, you can make sure that all of your questions are answered in the group. I'll be popping over there periodically, but my team member, Mary Boyce, is in the group this evening, and she'll be helping to field the calls as well. So what are we going to cover? Well, we're going to create buzz, and we're going to cover 3 really specific areas to do that. The first one is book reviews. The second one is press releases. And then the third one, which is one of my favorite things to talk about, is getting media coverage for your book. So I'm super excited. I see everybody is logging on. And so I'm excited about that. And like I said, if you have questions, make sure that you pop in the Facebook group. And if you're going to share socially, make sure, if you can, use the hashtag Be an Author. So first, let's talk about getting book reviews, because book reviews are really, really crucial to the success of your book. And there's a few different kinds of reviews. We're going to talk more about that. First of all, there's the reviews from the reader. Now, most of us see these reviews on Amazon. So once your book is published, and it's available on Amazon, people can they can log on to Amazon and they can rate your book once they have read it. And this could be good reviews, this could be bad reviews. They could be a mixed bag, but getting readers' reviews are really, really important, especially on Amazon, because it helps Amazon recommend books to other readers. It's important on Amazon that you put a great description of your book. And depending on who you're going through, a publisher or a self-publishing company, usually they help you do that. But you want your book, even on Amazon, to be searchable. And reviews are one way that it helps Amazon make your book searchable. And it also gives other readers a clue as to, whether your book is good or your book is not so good. So reviews are always really, really good. And there's a few ways that you can get reviews from readers. One, and it's very, very easy, is just to put it in your book somewhere, whether it's in the front cover, whether usually people put it in the back, and just ask for the review. They say you have not because you ask not. And so just asking readers once they've read your book to leave a review is always a good way to get a review. I wouldn't even ask for a good review. I would just ask for an honest review. I mean, we're going based on the fact that you have written a phenomenal book. So all the reviews that you're going to get are going to be good, 5-star reviews. So once I'm getting some comments that the sound went blank. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. But once you get those reviews on Amazon, then you have a lot of material to share socially. So I often quote reviews from Amazon on Twitter, on Facebook, and just say, hey, I got another 5-star review. This is what Felicia had to say. And, give a quote from whatever she said in her review. The other thing is to look for sites on the internet that review books. There are a lot of book clubs. There are a lot of literary websites. There are a lot of places on the internet that just review books. So I would start looking early, not once the book is published, but preferably before the book is published, and just start asking, for others, book clubs and literary sites to review your book. That's a good way. There's a new thing now about, bloggers doing blog tours for books and reviewing blogs. So you can also look for a variety of bloggers to do book reviews and to do interviews. Blog Talk Radio is a great place to look for reading focused and reader focused and literature focused radio shows in order to get the information out about your book. And often when people do these interviews, whether they're written on the blog or it's like Blog Talk Radio, they'll give a review of your book or give a recommendation for your book. And that's always a great way to get reviews as well. One thing, and let me just say this because I got caught up in this one too. Read the review policies, because now, especially with bloggers, they now have review policies because they're starting to get, inundated with reading books. So they may have a submission policy. Certain blogs may only review certain books. So in order not to offend, you just might want to review the policies there as well. Make sure that you send your book to reviewers who are interested. Sometimes they'll give you bad reviews if you're not upfront about some of the stuff that's in the book. And like I said, that goes back to the reviews. So say it's a Christian website. You might not want to send some more, some erotica, say, for instance. So you just have to make sure and be very careful with that, because sometimes if somebody's offended, they might give you a bad review, not because of the book and the quality of the book, but just because you didn't follow the policy. So that's just a heads up. The other thing that I found resulted in a lot of good book reviews is doing giveaways. Some sites that you might want to be aware of is like Goodreads. That's a good one. Library Thing is another good website to be aware of. And so you can do giveaways via both of those sites. I gave away quite a few books on Goodreads. And not only is that a great way to get reviews, it's also a great way to get recommendations for your books. So on Goodreads, what they do is if people are reading your book or really like your book, they'll add it to their bookshelf. And that's a good way, because then whatever's on your bookshelf is recommended to the people who are in your circle on these websites. So that's another good way to get not only reviews, but also to get recommendations. And even though this is a little bit different, this is still giveaways. Personal giveaways, these can really pay off. A lot of times if you go through a publisher, you'll get a certain amount of copies that you can give away. You can do this if you're self-publishing, you're buying the copies anyway. So you might want to just designate a certain number of copies, not only for the media, but also for reviews. And so you might want to do a giveaway on Facebook, or you might want to do it, among, a circle of readers that and just, give them the books and ask for a review in return. And so that often works really, really well in getting reviews. So all of these are really kind of based, reader-based reviews. Even with the bloggers, a lot of times they're not considered editorial or critical reviews. But they're a good way to get reviews. Another way is social media, like I said, on Facebook or Twitter. That's another good way to give away books and get reviews, and also get social recommendation. So a lot of times I'll see on Facebook people getting their books and them holding it up, or having readers hold it up and take pictures and say a few things about the book. All of that stuff can be captured and used in your marketing material. All of that stuff can be captured and shared socially, and all of it is considered reviews. So anytime anybody says anything on the book, on your book, then I think that you should capture that and use that for marketing material. More giveaways, yes. And then also, like I said, if you might want to consider, if somebody does leave you a review, to offer them a copy of your next book. If they really, really enjoyed it, it's a good way to do some kind of public, service, public goodwill. And if they leave a good review or awesome review or really help you share information about your book, then offer, to give them a copy of your next book. A lot of times an autograph goes a long way to getting a good review. One thing readers really, really enjoy is getting to meet their author and taking a picture with the author of one of the books that they enjoy. So that's another way to get a good review is to show up at a lot of these conferences and book readers events. And even if you're doing events on your own, to make sure that you take time to talk to other people and talk to the readers and take pictures with them. They're now your fans, and really make them feel good about you and about the book experience that they're having. And that often will lead to you getting some good reviews as well. And like I said, a lot of people have not because they ask not. So a lot of times it's just making the ask to leave a review. And if people really, are going to take the time out to leave a review, either they really, really love it or they really, really don't. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a review by somebody who's actually gone through the motions of going to Amazon and logging on and writing all of that. Then there are other kind of reviews. There are reviews that are considered celebrity reviews. So either someone who has a name, or either it's someone who is really, really acclaimed in whatever expertise you happen to be in. So say you're writing a fitness book, to get someone who is renowned in the world of fitness is a good way to get a celebrity review. I was doing an interview with the actor Eric LaSalle, who, and I think it's ER. I went through this before. I always forget which hospital show, but it's ER. And he's writing thrillers now. He's a novelist and he's writing thrillers. And on his second novel, he had an endorsement from James Patterson. So now James Patterson and Stephen King are like the top-notch dogs in the world of thriller in that genre. And so I asked Eric, I was like, and of course, when you get a review from James Patterson and you're a mystery writer, you put that quote everywhere. And indeed, Eric LaSalle had it on the front. You guys are funny in this chat room. So if you all see me looking to the side, it's because I'm seeing all of these comments come up and down. But anyway, so Eric LaSalle, so I asked him, I was like, Eric, how did you get James Patterson to give you, a quote? And he's like, we asked. So his publicist, he has a publicist, and his publicist sent out the review copies, and they asked, and he, James Patterson read it and liked it and gave him a quote. So a lot of times people just don't ask. And because you think that they'll say no, or you think that they don't have time. And a lot of times all you have to do is ask. So the celebrity interview is a good way to do it. And then of course there's the more editorial or critical reviews like the New York Times and other media outlets. And there's some book clubs that, have been in existence a long time, and literary magazines that might be more considered a critical or an editorial review. And so those are the kinds of reviews. I would always, when asking for a review, put together an attractive package, meaning, a really nice bio, a copy of the book, not just a synopsis. A lot of times if you want somebody to read and review the book, you might want to ask them first before sending, because it can get, a little expensive, a little costly if you're sending out books to all of these places. And just ask them if they're interested or if they have time to read and review a book. I get review copies like that all the time. People will email me and say, would you, read this? And sometimes I say yes. Well, a lot of times I say yes, because I just love to read. A lot of times I'll say yes. You should see my office. I should take a picture and post it in my office. It's books everywhere, just stacks and stacks of books. So a lot of times I say yes, but sometimes I'll say no, because I know that it's not something that we'll do an interview on. Or I know it's not something that I'm interested in reading and doing an interview on. So it just depends. But, so sometimes you might just want to ask and see if people are actually interested and doing a review on the book. So those are book reviews. And like I said, if you're in the Facebook group, we can, you can ask your questions. Mary is fielding. I know there's some questions about social media and that sort of thing. So I'll get to those if we have time. I'm going to try to keep these training calls to an hour because I respect everybody's time and I know that we all have busy lives. So I will try to keep them to an hour, but if you have questions, I'll be glad to ask them whether they're on or off topic. And so those are book reviews. And like I said, I mean, the more professional you present a package, the better off it's going to be. And, I do a lot of this myself. I mean, some people, like I said, have publicists. Some people don't. I don't necessarily wait for my publicist to do everything. A lot of times, a personal note from an author goes a long way. But knowing the ins and outs of these things are important too. And that's why I also want to talk about press releases. These press releases are a necessary, and I won't call them evil, but they're a very necessary part of your marketing effort. And a lot of people don't do them right. So Althea, I'm sorry that you're having so many problems. I don't know. Nobody else seems to be having the same problem. So it might be the internet on your end, and there will be a replay. So if you're having issues or whatever, you don't get to see the whole thing, there will definitely be a replay. So press releases for your book. Like I said, they're a necessary part of your marketing effort. There's no way to get around it. If you want to get any kind of media coverage, if you want to get any kind of press, if you want to publicize an event, a book event, you're going to have to write a press release. So and I'll actually send this out with the email where I'm going to send out the replay link, but I'll send you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to send you, and I meant to do it ahead of time, but my kids are in the middle of midterm, so it's been a little bit crazy. But the format for press releases are really, really important. And sometimes this is a personal preference on how people like to receive press releases. When I tell you that I probably receive 50 press releases a day, that's probably on the light side. I get a lot of press releases. I don't know too many people anymore that actually physically mail a press release or fax a press release. I get them, but not as much as I used to when I first started in the business. Things have gone pretty much, electronically. People have electronic media kits or electronic press kits where everything is online. So it's either on your website and media can download it, or it's just there on a website where there's no download needed. So you would have all your information, you would have your official press release, you would have any kind of media pictures or pictures you wanted to use for the media. And so that anybody that wanted to write a story on you and your book, all of the information is in one place. So like I said, I'll send out the format. A lot of people now just email the press release. I think that's probably the norm as we move into the digital age, or at least email an introduction with a link to where you can go access the information. The one thing I will say about any press release, no matter how you try to do it, whether you're going to fax it, whether you're going to email it, whether you're going to physically mail it, whether it's on a website, is to make it as short and as sweet as possible. So most people in media, like I say, I get 50 emails a day just for press releases. And so that's outside of everything else that I have to attend to business-wise on my email. So I like things really short. I like things really sweet. I like things really to the point. A good press release demonstrates enough words. Probably, I would say, if it gets to 350 to 400 words, you're getting to the long side. So I would try to keep it between 250 and 350 words. Your headline is your announcement. So even in your email, it's going to be in your subject line, and you need to tell exactly what it is that this press release is going to be about. I don't like generic email subject lines. If I can tell automatically that it's a press release that I'm probably not going to be interested in, I probably will not open the email. It should be brief, like I said. It should be eye-catching, and it should tell me exactly what it's going to be. So I don't want to see a press release coming to my email that says, latest news from Nikki Woods. I don't want that. That'll get deleted immediately, because it doesn't tell me what it's going to be about. It doesn't tell me what it's going to do for my audience. I wouldn't include attachments. If you're going to do the email, I would put everything in the body of the email. If you have an electronic press kit, I would include a link. If you have images, I would include links. There's too many viruses and all that kind of stuff going around, so most people that I know don't open that many attachments anymore, especially if they don't know who it's coming from. You should include briefly who you are. You should include briefly what it is that you have, but most importantly, you should tell me exactly what your interview, if I give you one, is going to do for the audience. If you're going to do an event, what it's going to do for the audience. So very quickly, just to start it out, date and city is on most press releases. In the first paragraph, you should be able to sum up everything in about 50 to 100 words. All right. So make everything count, and I wouldn't do self-promotion. I wouldn't talk about why you're so great. I would talk about the W's of journalism: who, what, when, where, why. I'm more interested in the why. Why am I going to put you on my radio station? Why am I going to introduce you to 8 million listeners? Why am I going to come to your event? Why am I going to write an article on you for my newspaper? That is the why. That's the value that you're offering. In the next paragraphs, you can add more that boosts why the why is so important. So who you are, why you're credible to discuss this. So if we want to just talk about finances, I mean, we get a lot of these financial and fitness and that sort of thing at the beginning of the year. You know, if you've written a financial book, I would look for the value that you're going to offer through your financial credibility. So 5 ways to rebound from holiday spending, because we all overspent for Christmas, at least I did. I'll speak for myself. So 5 ways to rebound from holiday spending. 5 ways to set a better budget in 2015. 5 ways to save more money for your children's college education. All of those things I think that we're interested in. So in the press release, you have to give that. Not, my name is Nikki Woods and I just wrote a book about finance. That's not going to entice me to put you on my radio station. The value that you're going to bring is going to be what gets the yes in an interview. Now, we'll mention the book. You know, most media outlets, they will mention the book, but it's not supposed to be about the book. It's not supposed to be about you. It's supposed to be about how you are going to help the audience live a better life through your interview, through the article, through the event. So that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. If you happen to have any quotes about your book, especially if they're from like a James Patterson or somebody really credible in whatever expertise, or something like that, or another media professional that might, you know, sway me as a media professional to use you over somebody else, then I would include those in a paragraph. The one thing to add, though, when I'm writing an article based on a press release, a quote is the only thing that I cannot change. So you need to make sure that it's a good quote. Your final paragraph should be really, really short and informative. It's kind of like your mini biograph, mini bio in there. Also, if you have any other articles that have been published about you, or you have any other media that might give me an idea of how you perform on radio or how you interview on television, I mean, that's good. I always like to check people out just to see what other things that they're talking about. Basically, you want to make things as easy as possible for people to be able to access you. And that's why we've moved so closely to just everything being electronically, where I can just go to your website. Most people have a media page on their website. And like I said, that'll have all the information people need, links to other media interviews, and also pictures and stuff to make it as easy as possible to take care of this interview. So that's a little bit about press releases. And like I said, I will send all this out. Usually at the end of a press release, you know, you write "end" just so you know that that's it. but just as sweet and as short as possible, while still conveying, like I said, the value that you're going to bring to whatever it is that you're trying to do is really, really important. Most people have a template that they use for their press release, and then they just tweak it to fit whatever situation. I think it's important to know the outlet that you are pitching to. So say you're pitching the Tom Joyner Morning Show as opposed to the Dr. Phil Show. They're two very different shows. They're two very different audiences, and you want to make sure that you are going to be able to speak to that audience or speak to that particular show. And so that's a little bit about press releases. And obviously you need a press release to get most interviews, to get most events publicized, whether it's in the newspaper, or if it's on the web, or if it's on television. Press releases are really the foundation for that. It tells you, who you are basically and what value that you're going to bring. So those are some important things to remember when it's writing a press release. And like I said, I'll send out the basic template, and I'll send an example. I get some really good pitches, and I get some really bad pitches. And a really, really good pitch will get you an interview, and obviously a really, really bad pitch will not. So I also want to talk a little bit about media coverage, and then I want to make sure that we get some questions because I see them coming through. I want to make sure that you all get, I'm moving stuff out of the way. I want to make sure you all get your questions answered, so that you all leave with what you need with. And so we'll talk about social media a little bit on the end, but I want to talk about media coverage. The one thing that I think that people do poorly is they don't start establishing these relationships with the media until their book is done. You really should, this should be an ongoing process because like social media, traditional media is really about relationships. And so, when we're looking for a certain interview, I already have people in mind. Maybe because I know who they are, maybe because they come highly recommended by another media professional, maybe because they've always been great at giving me good pitches that I just haven't been able to use up until this point. But it's about relationships. It's about what you do before, it's about what you do during, and it's about what you do after. So you should start developing these relationships, or at least finding a good publicist who already has these relationships developed with the media before the book comes out, or before whatever it is you're doing. Since we're talking about books, we'll stick to that. But to really start developing these relationships beforehand, and to start giving good pitches. I mean, because most people that I work with, when they're about to write a book, they're already experts in their field. So this is already stuff they know. And they're about to write a book to solidify it, or they're going to write another book to speak to this, or they're going to write another book to speak to that. So they already have the expertise that they can give interviews on. So now it's about crafting the pitch. And I gave you some examples with the financial tip, and information that we could all use at one time or another, and just coming up with those pitches. A lot of shows and outlets are always looking for timely pitches. So if you are like an expert in finance, to talk about the economy going into 2015, or to talk about the job situation or the job outlook in 2015, those sorts of things. When tragedy happens, like, when these airplanes, mysteriously go down, a lot of outlets were looking for like black box experts to explain that, and recovery experts to talk about how they find the plane when it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. So knowing those kinds of things when you're about to make your pitch are really, really important. Now, once your book comes out, staying on top of those events, even past the launch. I think a lot of times authors get really, really excited. And so they expend all of this energy around the launch, and then 3 months down the way, they forget about it. Not necessarily that they forget about their book, but they forget that they should still be marketing their book. And just because you wrote a book 2 years ago doesn't necessarily make the information irrelevant. So, you know, if you're not still writing a book, you know, but you have a book out, you can still look to do pitches and interviews and promote your book. I mean, books stay on Amazon forever, I guess, you know. I mean, you can still get, you know, books that were written 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, even longer, obviously. So my point is that you can still sell a book, and you can do interviews based on that book as long as the, you know, the information is still relevant. And then after the interview, still developing the relationship. One of my really, really good friends is my really, really good friend now, just based on how she conducted herself through the pre-interview process, the actual interview process, and then the post-interview process. I was so, and I'll give her a shout out because she's phenomenal. In fact, she was on the Today Show today, but her name is Lucinda Cross. And Lucinda, she gave me a great pitch. She knew the audience that she was pitching to. She knew the segment that she should be a part of. And she pitched it perfectly. And during the interview process, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but during her interview, she showed up and she gave amazing, amazing information. It wasn't necessarily about her book. It was about her story and how she was trying to help other women do things a different way based on what she has learned in her life. And then post-interview, she sent all of these amazing thank yous and just was super grateful for the interview, and she stayed in touch. And I appreciated that. A lot of times people show up for the interview, they get the interview, and then they go away. And that's fine. But I think that if you want to have a long-standing presence in the media, developing those relationships are really, really important. So if you know Lucinda, you can hit her up on Facebook. You can tell her I love her madly and that she did a really great job. So that's that. And then there's things to learn, you know, about the interviewing process itself in the different mediums. Obviously, or maybe it's not obvious, but newspaper is different from radio, is different from television. And learning to do interviews for all of those, if you're interested in doing them, is really, really important. First of all, for TV and radio, it's a lot shorter. You don't have nearly as much time to put your thoughts together, to articulate a point, to provide value. So you really have to learn to what we say, talk in sound bites. So you have to be able to give every, you know, the listening audience or the viewing audience all of your value in a really succinct manner, right? So you have to learn to speak in sound bites. Television is different from radio. I mean, you know, hand gestures, body language, all of that is really a lot more important on television because people are looking at you, as opposed to radio, when you can, you know, do an interview in your pajamas if you're actually not in the studio. So to know those nuances. Also for print, like I said, you have a lot longer to articulate your point, to explain. Usually a lot of the newspaper articles tend to be a little bit more in depth unless you're like interviewing for a documentary. I know most of our interviews are probably, and this is radio, but even television can be as short as 3 minutes. 5 minutes is a long interview. Sometimes we may do close to 10, but you have to be like President Obama. You have to be somebody. We did the last 10-minute interview that we did were, you know, Kevin Hart. So you have to be, or Tyler Perry. You have to offer amazing content, value on some extreme. But usually they're pretty short, 3 to 5 minutes. So you have to learn how to articulate your thoughts and get them out quickly. So those are just some thoughts on how to really create a buzz. And obviously, you know, it takes sometimes a team to get this done. But you can start, and I always think it's better to have some of this information yourself. So even if you're hiring somebody to do it, you know some of the things to look out for. You know some of the things to help them with, especially when you're in the getting to know you process. You can help a publicist pitch you better because who knows better what you can offer, your expertise, than you, right? So you can help a publicist pitch you better. And you can assist in that by showing up and giving great interviews, and also looking for the post things to do after an interview to help your publicist with that as well. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them. I'm going to pop over to the Facebook group and see what's going on. I know like there have been a lot of questions about social media and some things that you can do. And I think that social media is a great way to generate the buzz about your book. Social media it's the same way as traditional media. It is all about giving, value. And so you have to make sure that you're not just getting on social media to sell your book, that you are, and I advocate this, that you start way before your book is published and start to develop that relationship with your followers and your fans and the people that you're connected to on social media, that you share information and tidbits and things that you've learned. So say that you're a fitness expert. Share fitness tips. Maybe your book is about the top 10 ways to lose weight by eating fast food. I don't know. So every day share a different tip. Share a different tidbit, share statistics about losing weight, share the best post-workout foods to eat, share the best new vitamins to take, share the best times to work out. Just share that kind of stuff. I've gotten the question, well, if we're sharing all this on social media, why will they buy the book? They will buy the book. You don't have to worry about that. Trust me, they will buy the book because, one, they think if you're giving them all of this information through an interview, through a talk that you may do at a book event, through social media, if you're giving all of this away for free, imagine what I'm going to get if I buy the book. That's how people think. Imagine what I'm going to get if I buy the book. And sharing this way allows people to invest in you as you know, a person. So people, once they invest in you, they will invest in your book. But they need to invest in you first. I mean, I just imagine if you were in a Walmart and somebody had a book and they walked up to you and you didn't know who they were, you didn't know anything about their book, and they just shoved their book in your face and they said, buy my book. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to buy that book. Only because of the way they approached you. It doesn't have anything to do with the book. So it's the same way on social media. You can't just show up on Twitter and once an hour say, buy my book, buy my book, go to Amazon, buy my book. You have to give them a reason to buy your book. So it's the same way in interviews. It's the same way on social media. You really, really want to have a payoff. So I saw that there's a question now on Facebook about getting paid reviews. I am against paid reviews. I don't even know many people that do it anymore. And I just think that it takes away a lot of credibility from you and from your book. And I think it could really, really backfire. I think that all you have to really do is make the ask. I know that there's a lot of systems, and I'm not going to necessarily name them, but there's a lot of award systems, I guess, for getting, you know, awards and nominations and this sort of thing, where you do have to pay to be a part of that process. I think that's just a personal decision, but I think reviews, I think they're easy enough to get, especially in this day and age, where you can get enough of them, even if they're not necessarily celebrity reviews, but you will get enough of them that you'll be fine, especially on Amazon. So I would stay away for paying for any kind of a review. I think the biggest, you know, like I said, payoff is either giving away your next book free or having given them a review copy already that they can read for free. I think that's the best payoff. I've never been offered money for a review, and I would never do it. So I would just stay away from it. I think like I said, it takes away from the credibility and that kind of thing. So great question, Dion. Great question. Because I'm a fiction writer, so that's why I love this question. And one thing I have really learned, especially about fiction writers, it's still the same principle. You still have got to be able to offer value. And one thing that I've learned in my process of trying to develop a system, not only for myself, but for other people, is that even as a fiction writer, there are themes to your book, right? So either it's like a relationship story, or maybe it's a murder mystery, or there's something, but there's some kind of theme to your book. And so looking for the conversations that you can have around your book, whether it's infidelity in a marriage, whether it's, blended families, finding love again, whether it's, a self, based on self-esteem, or bullying for elementary school. There's some kind of conversation that you can have around your book. And I would encourage you to find what that conversation is. Dion, I even took it a little bit further, and I was able to develop programs based on my fiction books. So like for Easier Said Than Done, it's about a woman really owning her space and figuring out whether or not she wants to live a life that everybody wants for her, or she's going to step out on faith and she's going to really live the life that she wants. And so with my coach, we were able to develop a coaching program around that for women who really wanted to own their space and live the life that they dreamed, not that they were told was best for them. And so you have to look for those conversations. If you're just talking about the book and the fact that, the main character met the other main character and they fell in love, and that's all it's about, then it might not go as far. So look for those conversations that can be had around themes that are in your book. That's really, really important. And it really does work well for fiction as well, especially, and you'll get you'll get used to it the more book clubs and stuff like that you go to, because you really do have conversations in these book club events, and that way you'll be able to pick out the themes and what people think about it. But it should be it should be a conversation and should offer value. Okay. Oh, and some more on social media. There are really no better platforms, I don't think, for authors. I think that authors need to find out where their tribe is. If your, tribe is on, if your tribe is on Facebook, then you need to really learn Facebook. Or if your tribe is on Twitter, then you really need to know Twitter. I mean, I tell everybody, I am a Twitter girl. I love the fact that you can say something in 140 characters, get it out there, and then, kind of walk away from it if you're not engaging your audience, if you're just leaving it there. But most of the people that want to play with me and want to hang out with me are on Facebook. So I really had to learn to embrace Facebook and show up on Facebook and be consistent on Facebook, because that's where my tribe is. So you really need to figure out where your tribe is, and then talk to them there, and, engage with them there. I think that, social media is kind of what my company does as well. So I'm on a lot of social media platforms. So I always tell people I'm on way more than I need to be on. I think that if you're trying to develop a consistent and an engaged following, you should probably pick no more than 3 and just learn those really, really well. Just make sure that your tribe is there. So I hope that helps. And then just always remember consistent content, consistent value, based on whatever it is your book is offering. So if it's a comedy book, be funny. If it's an inspirational book, share quotes. If it's a financial book, share financial tips. So you just have to offer value. If it's a novel, like I said, have conversations around that. So I hope that helps on social media. Mary is texting me questions because I can't keep up on Facebook. Story Cartel. Story Cartel. I think Story Cartel is fine. Story Cartel is like kind of a review site, I guess, and so they offer books in exchange for free in exchange for a review, and I think that's fine. I think that that's what we do anyway. I think that that's just a website that helps facilitate it. You know, people send me books for free in hope that I will do a review. I'm suggesting that you give books to readers for free in exchange for a review. So I think it's pretty much the same thing. I've never heard anything negative about Story Cartel. I don't use it. I don't get books and review there, and I don't know if my book has ever, or any of my books have ever been reviewed there, but I've never heard anything negative about it. So that's Story Cartel, so y'all can check into that too. But like I said, I think that if you look around and you really do a search, you're going to find plenty of opportunities to get reviews. Joyce would like to know thoughts on where to post, creation of public page for promotion, vote versus posting links, tips, etc. on your personal page. I'm assuming you're talking about Facebook. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming you're talking about social media and Facebook. So I will say this. I think social media is great. I'm on it all the time, but every author should have an author website. I think every business, every brand, anybody who's kind of playing in this space to create noise and do great things should have their own website. Social media is a vehicle to share that information. So I think you just have to weigh it out. I have a personal page that I'm really, really active on, but I tend to share more personal stuff. So I tend to share pictures of my kids, and I tend to share me writing on vacation, and tend to share Throwback Thursday stuff. So that kind of thing. On my fan page or my public page or my business page, that's where I really share more of the business side of writing. So more writing tips, more business of writing tips, more social media tips, and how to grow your platform. I'm all, you know, and even though I'm all over social media, I'm also of the mind that if social media is taking away from you writing and the business of writing, then you need to curtail your social media. So if your brand is not so developed that, you know, you can start a public page and still really maintain it, and that's where you share the majority of your information, then I would say do that. But I don't think that we should create so much on social media that it takes away from where it takes away from, you know, us writing and the business of writing and promoting. Being a writer really is a full-time job, even though most of us as writers still have other full-time jobs. And I wrote a quote somewhere where they said that, you know, marketers and, you know, they don't necessarily have to be great writers, but writers have to be great marketers, because that's how we sell our book and stuff. Facebook claiming to limit independent authors. You know what, they say a lot of stuff on Facebook, and I would really, really be careful all of that we take in. Rashonda Tate Billingsley, who is one of the founders and creators of Brown Girls Publishing, which is the publishing company that I'm on. She created this company with Victoria Christopher Murray, and she had this whole great thing where she listed like a lot of the headlines in 2014. And, you know, the things that we bought into, you know, and everybody was posting this copyright thing on their page so that Facebook couldn't take their content. And she said, you know, in 2015, we have to look beyond all of these headlines. I think that Facebook is a business just like anybody else. I mean, just like anything else. And they have the right to do certain things. I know they have changed the algorithms. They're in this to make money. We don't own Facebook. We have to keep all of that in mind, and we just have to learn to manipulate the tools that are at our hands. And that's why I always suggest that authors and business owners have their own website. We should not be putting all our content on Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus or wherever you are and thinking that and we should have learned from MySpace, for whoever was on MySpace. I mean, MySpace went away, became really irrelevant really quickly. And what good did it do any of us that had spent all our time on MySpace? So we need to develop our author platforms or our author websites and use social media to drive traffic and our audience back there. So That's my thought on that. So I don't know about Facebook really limiting independent authors. I've never had a problem with it. Like I said, I mean, a lot of times people put headlines out there, but we just have to use the tools that we have and really develop our business, you know, our business website and our tribe there. So Tamamu asked, should a business owner, entrepreneur create a separate website or just add a page on an existing site via author info? And I think I just answered it, but I'll say it again. I think you should have your own website. Author info could decide that they want to go to Tahiti and shut it down, and then you will lose everything that you have worked so hard to build. And that's the same thing on all these social media sites. You need to have your own website and then just utilize these exterior platforms to drive traffic back to your platform. That's why I talk a lot about authors growing their email list so that you own that information and it's not somewhere on a site that we don't have any control over, really. So I hope that answered your question, Tamamu. We have about 5 minutes and then we're gonna start shutting it down. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I enjoy talking to anybody that wants to talk with me about writing and publishing and growing your business around writing. You know, I'm an avid reader, I'm an avid writer, and so anytime I can have a conversation about this, I love it. I appreciate the positive feedback. Thank you so much for all of the comments on Webinar Jam, but also in Facebook. I really, really appreciate it. Debbie, I will send you the replay. Debbie Fox, Deborah Fox, who just wrote a great book on relationships. She is in the group. It's called Loving Through Thick and Thin, so you can pick up her book, but she wrote a book in 6 months and got it out there, and she's doing really, really well. And she's a testimony to what we can all do when we put our minds to writing a book. So Lena has a question about self-publishing, but I didn't see it. So Mary, if you could tell me what that question is, I would be glad to answer it. Oh, another question that I got earlier and I didn't speak to was self-publishing versus traditional publishing. I think it's just a decision that you need to make about what works best for you. I tend to publish traditionally for fiction and self-publish for nonfiction. That's just a choice. I will say this, though. I think that self-publishing is a great option, and it's gotten much better, obviously, as the years and the technology and the access has improved. So I think that you know, you should really consider self-publishing. I put a lot of information on my website that will help people who want to walk through the self-publishing route to do that. So I blog almost every day, and I give a lot of information about that as well on self-publishing. I think it's a great option. Just the top 3 things about self-publishing that I like: you get more creative control, you get more of the money, and you know, you really can control the timeline when it comes to, you know, publishing your book. Now the downside, obviously, is that you put up all the money. You don't have somebody else backing you. But the payoff, I think, in the end is really, really good. A couple more questions. What are your thoughts on query letters as well as publishers versus agents? Query letters are letters that normally you'll send to, you could send it directly to a publisher, but normally they go to agents if you're looking for a literary agent to shop your book to a publisher. So a query letter really is kind of who you are, what your book is going to be about, and hopefully, you know, you'll find an agent to shop your book. I would suggest, if you're going to send any query letters, that you do a lot of research on agents to find out which literary agent is going to be right for you. I would check to make sure that the literary agent has a track record of being able to sell a manuscript, and also what other authors that they've worked with. And I would have the manuscript done before you send a query letter. 9 times out of 10, if you send a query letter and the publisher is, the agent is interested, they're going to ask for the full manuscript and they're going to want it then. They're not going to say, okay, in 6 months, send me the book, because they probably will have moved on to something else. So I would suggest that when you start sending query letters, that your manuscript is done. Some smaller publishers accept, kind of query letters for publishing, where they will, publish you without going through an agent. But if you're looking at like the Simon and Schuster's, and you're looking at like the Random Houses, you would probably have to go through an agent to get a deal like that. So, when I was looking for my agent, I sent out, I would say probably 10 query letters. I did my research. I looked for people who wrote in the same genre that I wrote in. I looked for agents who really, knew the African-American literature scene. And that's how I was able to narrow down my literary agents. Sometimes literary agents will come after you if maybe you've self-published or you have something else out there. But 9 times out of 10, you'll be sending query letters. I would be very, very careful about reading what kind of deal you sign with any agent, so that you'll know like what percentage they get out of your royalties, out of your signing bonus, out of all of that. I would also see what else you're giving them the rights to. So are you giving them the rights just to sell your manuscript, or are you giving them the rights to not only sell your manuscript, but to look for a movie deal or a television deal? Do they get royalties off the audiobook? Just make sure you know what you're signing away, so that you're not surprised at the end. So Lena, I hope that helps your self-publishing question. I still can't find the question. I'm not really sure what you're asking. But I hope that helped. And like I said, I really do appreciate you playing with me. I have another website, wannabeanauthor.com, where I'm really, offering these live trainings and other opportunities to work with me. I have started taking individual clients who are looking to get their book published. So I literally walk you through the concept of your book, through the writing of your book, to the marketing of your book and the media and all of that of your book. So whether it is you're looking for a traditional publisher, I've walked people through that way, or self-publishing, I've gone that route as well. So I'm looking for people that are really interested, especially in 2015. I don't know why I feel so strongly about this, but I think 2015 is going to be an awesome year for us all. I think it's going to be a year of collaboration, and I think it's going to be a year of growth. And I really want people who are interested in leaving a legacy through writing a book. Those are the people that I want to work with. Even though I really, really enjoy writing, I also know the things that having a book can do for your brand. Like I said, it leverages your expertise. It's another revenue stream, and it sets you up for more coaching clients if that's the route that you want to go, more media if that's the route that you want to go. But writing has never done anything but catapult my career on whatever level that I've done it, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, to another level. And those are the people that I want to work with. So wannabeanauthor.com has some opportunities if you want to work with me. I would be honored to have you. I want to shout out my co-authors. I'm writing a collaborative book that I'm super excited about. So I have 15 amazing women. Some of them are in the group right now, supporting me and shouting me out quite loudly on social media, and I love it. I think we all have stories to tell, and I think sometimes we just need a little help telling them. And so that's what I'm looking to do in 2015. So it's wannabeanauthor.com if you're interested, like I said, in looking at the variety of opportunities that I have to work with me. I'm looking to work with you. And I love it. Safari just said, let's earn up in 2015. And that's exactly right. That's exactly what we're going to do. I don't think that we have all of these wonderful expertises and all of these wonderful passions. And, you know, it's just amazing the things that, you know, not only the people I connected to, but the people that I have met along my journey have to offer. And I want to make sure stories are told. So I just want to say thank you. Like I said, I look forward to 2015 being an awesome experience for us all, not only professionally, but personally. And I hope that we can, like I said, play together on another level. So thank you guys so much. I'll send out the replay. I will send out, I know that I promised you the press release template. I have a special goodie just for you, just for hanging out with me, to let you know how much I appreciate and value you. And we'll be doing another training next month. So I will send out information, and I hope you'll come hang out with me then as well. I've committed to having an agent on. So if there are those of you out there that are interested in learning more about that aspect, I think that's going to be our next training. So I will just say that if you're wanting to learn more about query letters and getting an agent, I'm going to have that opportunity for you as well. Dr. Antonio Webb is on. He's written a phenomenal book. Thank you, Dr. Webb, for hanging out with me and sending over those wonderful pitches via your PR person, Rebecca, out of Houston. I appreciate you guys. And I will see you guys next time. Don't forget the website, wannabeanauthor.com.